is our favorite time of the week again. Time for hashtag Rising Qs, where we get to answer at least a few of your questions. Let's put the first one up on the screen. All right, Saagar, you want to take it away?
What impacts do you think this will have on Millennials and Generation Z trust in our government? I mean, one of the first things that I did here, I think it was, when we were even at home for those 2 days, was talk about how terrible the Millennials and Gen Z have had it with this economy. I mean, Millennials in particular, just to say for my own generation, which is that you graduate from college in the middle, or you either graduate or enter college in the middle of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. And now, after you just clawed your way back to maybe paying down some of your debt, many were still swarmed, maybe considering buying some assets, boom, worst economic crisis since the Great Depression hits. And I feel for Generation Z because they're very much in the same position that we were in, which is that they are now entering the worst job market in American history. I mean, if you're a college graduate right now, what do you do?
Right.
What are you going to do? I mean, I talk to some of them, some of the ones I mentor and stuff, and they're like, I have no job prospects. I have nothing. Like, I don't know what I can possibly do, and I have no hope I can give them. I'm like, I can't call anybody for you. Nobody is hiring. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's a terrible situation.
Well, it's interesting because the question just says, what effect will this have on Millennials and Gen Z? And there's so much this going on that it's hard to even know to what that refers. So if you're talking about the economic crisis, the coronavirus crisis, and people are graduating out into this, and the number of jobs that have gone away, the number of people who have lost their health insurance, all of that is massive disaster, especially for the people who are sort of most, just entering the workplace, just getting themselves established, just starting to think about what their lives and their future is going to look like. On the other hand, I think the movement that has sprung up across the country is actually a very hopeful thing in terms of recreating the country in a way where people do have more fundamental economic rights and security and a voice in government and, starting to change that system structurally. That doesn't happen overnight. But I've said this multiple times, but I find that willingness to get out in the street at risk, both because of pandemic and also because of the interactions that we've seen and how sort of, fraught the whole environment is, I find that to be tremendously hopeful and ultimately the only way that real change is going to happen in this country from the bottom up because, as we saw with the coronavirus response, no one's at home here. Yeah. No one is showing leadership here. So I find, one part I find to be deeply disturbing, troubling, obviously terrible. The other part I actually find to be hopeful.
All right.
Let's take a look at the second question. All right, from Joshua Russo, I've seen people calling for Biden to be more present and outspoken during this time, but I think it's a double-edged sword considering how incoherent he can be. What do you think is the smartest political way for Biden to handle everything happening right now? It is quite a quandary because on the one hand, you have a lack of leadership, right? You have a lack of, really being able to lay out that FDR vision that they keep claiming that he's going to, follow in the footsteps of FDR. On the other hand, when he does subject himself to scrutiny as he did with the Breakfast Club, it doesn't go so well. I will say, I think, look, Biden is who Biden is. He's not my politics. I think he's done deep damage, frankly, to the country with a lot of the policies that he's promoted and continues to support over the years. In terms of just sort of using unifying language, coming out, doing the presidential theater, trying to bring people together, calm frayed nerves. I actually think the speech that he gave this week was pretty decent, was decently covered. And those sorts of, that was a very controlled setting.
Right.
And that is probably the best way for him to approach this whole thing.
Yeah, I think, look, it's clear. We covered on the show earlier this week the wrong track poll at 74%. You don't have to do anything. Stay in the basement. Hold fast. Stay alive. Keep breathing.
Give prepared speeches that are safe.
Don't get corona.
Don't get corona.
You're probably good.
Yes.
As far as I can tell.
Probably right.
Last one. When I hear or read the word literally, I can't help but hear it in Saagar's voice. Me too. For both of you, which catchphrase used by your co-host is your favorite?
Literally is a good one. But, I got to go with the classic. We have an amazing show for you today.
My particular favorite. Yes.
which started as like, you just kind of said it like repetitively, and then people started giving you a hard time about it, and so you decided to really lean into it.
And I'm like, no, it's like, never going to.
Use some other words. No, we're not going to. I think it's a little insight into your sort of contrarian nature, honestly.
That is exactly right. What for yours, it's what you told the New York Times, which is, what if we hated each other less and the elites more? So that is my particular favorite. Or the stock market is a graph of rich people's feelings.
But it's a great line.
Yeah.
It's funny. I met one of at the New York show that we did, which feels like a literal lifetime ago.
Yeah, even though it was like 3 months ago.
Yeah, it was 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It feels like ages and ages ago. And that was like the last moment before everything shut down for coronavirus. But I remember one of the folks there said that they loved that I said, et cetera, which I didn't even realize that I say. But now that they brought it up to me, I'm very self-aware of how often I use that turn of phrase. So,
all right. Well,
thanks, guys. You're making me learn things about myself.
What do you like to do most?
Thank you guys for watching. We'll have more for you later.